Hi, it's Kevin Bates here, and today a startup post where I'm going to tackle the thorny question of founder share allocations. Um, so, stepping backwards and looking at things like the employee options pool or the investors pool, it's all very clear. For example, employee share options are how you get your shares is laid out in your employment contract, and it's basically proportional to the amount of time you spend as an employee and the level of seniority of your position. So it's all there in black and white. And similarly, investor allocations are basically calculated from what they estimate the value of the company to be at the time and what they think it will end up being. So again, there's a neat formula for calculating them, but there's a problem with founder shares in that you're dividing up a pie before it's worth anything, and you're having to estimate what the individual founders' contributions are going to be and how valuable they're going to be. And that's a bit of a black art. So I think the first thing when you're dividing up the initial share allocation is you need to spend some time discussing it, even though it feels like a waste of time because the company is not worth anything at the point that you're doing that, just to save yourself a headache later. And in particular, I think it's worth remembering an old maxim, which is that in these kind of deals, if everybody feels like they've been slightly shortchanged, then it's probably a fair deal. So dividing shares up among founders, there's an extra problem, which is that some people may leave partway through the startup phase of the company, and it's very easy to feel resentment if you're one of the remaining founders, that you're slaving away and there are some people out there who are now benefiting from your labors without putting in equivalent amount of work. But it's kind of just a fact of the matter, and the easiest way to avoid it is to make sure that you pick some good co-founders, people who you know and understand. Then for the actual division, I think the worst thing you can do is say that you have 4 founders, is divide the company equally 4 ways. Instead, you need to sit down and work out what everybody's contribution is. And in particular, it's not necessarily the underlying idea that is the most valuable part of the company, because startups are all about execution, and in order to execute and actually make sales, you need to have a network. So really, I would say the best thing to do is to look at how many different hats are various people able to wear and allocate on that basis. So like divide it up proportionally into value of the idea plus IP, value of networks that various people bring, ability to think on your feet and actually use those connections to drive the product forward and make some sales. There's the technical execution, although strangely enough it's not nearly as high as the other ones. Really the key point to look at is how replaceable is every individual person, because if somebody's irreplaceable, you need to give them a larger share in order to make sure that they actually remain and the company actually goes somewhere. So a whole bunch of different things to consider there. I was just looking at founders' share allocations, and that it's not just as simple as dividing the company up amongst the N founders in a ratio of 1/n. I hope you found that interesting. There's a lot more to this, and there are plenty of articles out there that can help guide you through this process. But I think the main message I have to people who are thinking of starting up a tech company or just have is this is something that you need to put quite a lot of thought into. It's not just something that you want to resolve in a half-hour conversation down the pub. I hope you found that interesting, and see you tomorrow in the next video.